Hi everyone. The post-mortem of how the no confidence motion introduced by India alliance of parties fared in the parliament continues in the mainstream media of this country. Even last night, I saw several media discussions focused on it, but focused particularly on the somewhat revolting question as to who won and emerged triumphant from the process. As though the parliamentary discussion on the motion was nothing more than a debate competition. This is indicative of the taste and temperament that's settling down and becoming the new normal in our country. And I'm doing this video partly to register my deep sense of disturbance about what this is symptomatic of. Perhaps people who are doing this exercise or showcasing this game in public do not really know what they are doing. Therefore, as someone who is not part of the process but has the advantage of standing in the gallery watching the game that's on, a thought or two may be offered in the hope that it will be taken in the right spirit. The general trend in the discussions was to come to a conclusion that Prime Minister Modi won the debating competition hands down. I'm nobody to say that he did or he didn't. My limited point here is to make certain observations of general interest, both in terms of their present as well as emerging significance for the country. Let me take an example then. This will become clear. The motion was about the people of India losing their faith in the way the Manipur calamity has been handled by the central government. The Prime Minister of the country was obviously, and he has a duty to do that, defending his government and the approach to this particular issue and the policies underlying them. But in his speech, the main focus was on something else. And in this video, I'm only going to take up just one of those, shall I say, diversionary interpolations and discuss with you briefly as to what this could entail or what this could point to. One of the things that the Prime Minister said with great rhetorical vehemence is the fact that India is already the fifth largest and fastest growing economy in the world, and that we are well on course to becoming the third largest in the near future. Now, this is a very good thing. It's a commendable achievement. Every Indian needs to be proud of this. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And the Prime Minister is quite right in saying that a lot of work has gone into it and that the great struggle is on, and all citizens must positively, spontaneously, enthusiastically participate in this process. All that is 100% acceptable, laudable, and I salute the Prime Minister. But the troubling element for me is this. Is the promise of India becoming or likely to become the third largest economy in the world a compensation for the misery of the people in Manipur? The point of debate was not whether India is going to be the third or the second largest economy in the world. It was on the plight of the people of Manipur. Therefore, when the Prime Minister lays far greater importance and earnestness of purpose to pushing the economy forward to some kind of hypothetical position in the pantheon, the world economic pantheon of this position, that position, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what have you, then the impression he conveys willy-nilly is that it doesn't matter if the people of Manipur suffer, it doesn't matter if people in 10 other states suffer. As long as the economics juggernaut continues to rumble on, and we are each day moving closer to the destination of becoming the third largest economy in the world. At least that's the impression I gathered. And I'm afraid that's the impression that a vast majority of people would have gathered if they paid attention to this, if they listened to the Prime Minister with alertness and a sense of the critical spirit. You see, there are two ways in which you as a citizen can listen to anybody, particularly the leaders of the country. One is as worshippers. Now, the hallmark of worship is that you don't bring your critical faculties anywhere near whatever is presented to you on a platter. In fact, you will be labeled heretical if you allow your critical mind to work in the context of worship. In worship, your rational mind is required to go to sleep. And you lap up everything that is being said to you, and you become a passive receptacle of whatever is aired at you or provided to you. That's the general idea of worship. But there is another possible relationship that a citizen can establish with what the leaders offer, namely making use of his training, mental development, his sense of what is right and wrong, his larger sense of humanity, compassion, moral values, idealism, so on and so forth, to examine as honestly and minutely as possible the logic, the underlying assumptions and presuppositions on which certain arguments and data are presented to you in the form of a public speech. I think the second is the approach of an enlightened, responsible citizen who also, as per Article 51A of the Indian Constitution, bothers a bit to cultivate the scientific temper and the spirit of critical inquiry, which are constitutional mandates. At least these are constitutional ideals, if not mandates. So that's the way I responded to my Prime Minister, because the Constitution of India is a very, very foundational reality for me. The office of the Prime Minister of India is the most political as well as administrative focal point for me. So, as an educated, responsible citizen, I keep the two together in my mind when I listen to my leaders. I hope this is not an offensive thing, but this is what I do. Even if I don't speak out everything that comes to my mind, but I do this all the time. And I do this even more when I listen to religious leaders, especially religious leaders of my own community. And I believe that I have a duty to be rational and responsible in the domain of religion, which also gets me into some trouble with religious leaders, either whether it is in the field of politics or in the field of religion. Nobody likes the critical faculties to be pitted against anything that a person of importance says in public. Well, that's how it is, but we have to find a little niche for ourselves somewhere in this discourse. So, I felt a very deep and troubling sense of impropriety in counterbalancing the mounting misery, the prolonged misery of Manipur With this projection of India becoming the third largest economy in the world, please don't misunderstand. I'm excited about India becoming the third largest economy in the world, and my only regret is that today I'm an old man, and therefore the extent to which I can contribute to that process is limited, though I'll continue to do whatever I can to make that dream possible. And I wish the Prime Minister all success and all blessings in that pursuit. After all, it redounds to the glory of India. It's high time that the genius of India is fulfilled, and whatever the Prime Minister says or does in that context will have an instinctive appreciation. But I still have to insist that India, the attainment of this goal of becoming the third largest economy in the world does not have to be at the expense of the people of Manipur. Or, to put it more positively, bringing peace and justice to the people of Manipur is a goal not incompatible with the goal of reaching that important milestone which the Prime Minister has in mind. To my mind, in a healthy body politic, in a healthy country, the two are necessary for each other. They are mutually fulfilling factors. It betrays, or it speaks of the ill health that has befallen a nation when these two goals are seen as somewhat mutually exclusive, or mutually not exclusive, indifferent to each other. Whereas, in my understanding, they are in a state of synergy. They must reinforce and energize each other. Now, here I want to state one of my fundamental articles of faith, secular faith, that is, or my idea of development. To me, the development of a society is fundamentally the development of a people. Development is not an agenda driven by a larger-than-life leader. And thank God we have a very dynamic, charismatic leader. You examine world history under a microscope, you will find that no people have been developed through the unilateral actions of leaders. A people can only be enabled to develop. The role of a national leader is catalytic, not compulsive or coercive. You don't dictate development to a people. The first thing to do in a country which really takes the agenda of development earnestly is to create a culture of public life, a culture of work, as well as national character, which is conducive to development. If you have a society or a worldview or a national outlook which is negative, which believes in violence, violence is the cult of negativity. It is destructive, it cannot conduce to development. Development happens when the total energies of a people are woken up and they are made to focus on or synergize with a grand goal proposed to be realized by the country as a whole, and not just some larger-than-life character sitting somewhere and driving the nation. Now, if this one man alone matters model is implemented, what happens is that over a period of time, the people of India will get increasingly alienated from this agenda of national development. At the very best, all that you can expect is that you create a public or a citizenry that just sits back and expects to enjoy the fruits of development. The Prime Minister, in his ever-growing slogan, has added this idea of participation. Sabka prayas. But for people to offer their prayas, their kar seva, if you like, their inspired labor, their best contribution, they have to be enabled to develop a spirit of instinctive identification, a profound sense of belonging to the nation. And the more you allow the spirit of alienation, the cancerous spread of alienation in a body politic, the more you weaken the foundation for development. Now, I don't want to prolong this because I have great respect for the intelligence of those who are listening to me. But let me introduce just one more very important insight and I'll close. In my line of thought, a country is very much like a human being. That's why we talk about the body politic. I have a body, my country also has a body. The body of my country is called body politic. It's a political body. My body is not political, it's organic, therefore it is biological body. Okay? Now, you can understand something valuable about the body politic by understanding the physical body of a human being, your own body. Haven't you realized that the most important organs of the body, that which sustains life, that which safeguards the vitality, the energy, the health and dynamism of a human body, have two attributes. One, they are all inside. Secondly, they are all made of the softest tissues, softest. Going by the present idea of vigor and vitality, strength, assertion, violence, brutality, etc., a piece of bone should be a million times more important than your brain, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your liver, your blood vessels, all put together. Actually, it goes even further than that. That which really sustains your life, which allows you to survive even 3 minutes or 5 minutes, is something completely insubstantial, so subtle, air, the capacity to breathe air. We overlook all of this, but when it comes to the body politic, it's the iron fist. It is the ability to unleash violence. So this way, only the bone of India, the teeth of India, the claws of India will develop. The soul of India will wilt and wither. The lungs of India will be perforated. The heart of India will petrify into a piece of stone. The kidneys will stop working. And that would be a pretty amusing picture of development. That's my concern. Others may not think about it, but it's my duty to think about it because I was a teacher. I still am a teacher. I became a teacher by choice. And as a teacher, my first loyalty is to my country. I was and I still am in the business of challenging people to think for the welfare of the nation. And therefore, I have also taken trouble to understand what contributes to the enduring welfare of a nation, as against certain euphoric, dramatic gestures and counter movements. All this drama will stop. It cannot carry you very far. History remains the same in terms of its dynamics and its logic. There's that point at which history reacts very violently and puts you down. When you violate the organic, fundamental, innate logic of history, history becomes a roaring lion. Let me say this to you. So it makes eminent sense to mind the unchanging, irreducible laws, essence and logic of history, and realize that the relationship between a leader and his people is a sacred one. It cannot be mediated through propaganda, play acting, the spreading of illusions and delusions, and protected with the armor of untruth. Time will separate the grain from the chaff, or chaff from the grain, the winnowing process of time. Nothing remains the same. Tomorrow will be different from today. And that's the truth of life. Therefore, it's important for us, and I hope the Prime Minister, if at all he comes across these words of mine, would take my concern seriously. And I also pray that the people of India would try and understand my heart and my soul that I pour into these words. And I speak in a state of suffering, anguish, because I love India. And I pray that the love for India will cleanse this land of all unrighteousness and to re-establish firmly the foundations for justice and peace in our country. For development without peace is bound to be diabolic. Thank you.